You didn't mean to push them away. You were just trying to help, trying to stay connected. But lately, the silence is louder, the visits are shorter, and you can't shake the feeling that something has shifted. Here's the truth most people don't say out loud. Sometimes it's not the big arguments or dramatic words that create distance. It's the subtle, quiet behaviors, the ones we don't even realize we're doing, that build invisible walls. Today, we'll gently unpack 6 of those behaviors. Not to place blame, but to bring awareness, healing, and a chance to reconnect before the distance becomes permanent. Let's begin. Behavior number 1. Offering help that feels like control. It often begins with love. You notice your child looks tired, overwhelmed, maybe even struggling. So you step in, fold their laundry while they're tending to the baby. You offer to call their insurance because they've been putting it off. You give advice, not to criticize, but because you've lived and you've learned. But here's what we often don't realize. What feels like support to us can feel like micromanagement to them. It's not the act itself that causes tension. It's the unspoken message behind it. I don't trust you to do this right. I still see you as someone who needs parenting. I'm stepping in because I know better. And the truth is, maybe you do. Maybe you could handle that bill better, get that stain out faster, solve the issue with less drama. But when your child is an adult, what they crave isn't efficiency, it's autonomy. They want to be respected not as someone who gets everything right, but as someone who's learning on their own terms. So what happens? They stop sharing their struggles. Not because they don't love you, but because they don't want solutions. They stop inviting you into their world because they're afraid you'll take over. They start visiting less because even well-meant help leaves them feeling small. And this is how emotional distance forms. Not through conflict, but through over-involvement. Have you ever helped your adult child without being asked? Not out of control, but out of habit, out of instinct, out of love. If so, think back. Did they seem grateful or quietly uncomfortable? Did they ask for advice or go quiet when you gave it? Helping isn't wrong, but the kind that builds connection often starts with one simple question. Would you like my help or just my ear? Behavior number 2. Using guilt to stay close. It's easy to slip into. A sigh when they say they're too busy to call. A passing comment, I guess I'm not that important anymore. Or even silence that lingers long enough to sting. These aren't shouted accusations. They're quiet cues, emotional pressure. They say, I miss you. I feel forgotten. But I won't say it directly. I'll let you feel it. The intention, connection. You want them to remember you, value you, show up for you. But the effect? It creates a loop of discomfort. They walk away from conversations feeling guilty, not cherished, not excited to reconnect, but responsible, obligated, burdened. And when love starts to feel like a chore, even the most devoted child begins to retreat. Not out of rebellion, but self-preservation. Because here's the truth. Guilt doesn't create closeness. It creates distance. It doesn't draw people in. It pushes them away while convincing them they can never do enough. Have you ever made a comment just to get a reaction? Something like, you only call when you need something. Your brother used to visit more. I won't be around forever, you know. It's okay. We all long to feel needed. But ask yourself, would I want to come back to a place that made me feel guilty? Or one that made me feel loved just as I am? Behavior number 3. Ignoring their boundaries. It can start small. Asking a personal question they don't want to answer. Offering advice they didn't ask for. Showing up unannounced because your family, no invitation needed. But here's the quiet shift you may not notice. What once felt like closeness begins to feel like intrusion. And when boundaries are crossed repeatedly, even with good intentions, something changes. They stop opening up. they say less, visit less, share less, not out of spite, but because it's the only way they can feel safe. Many adult children struggle to balance respect with independence. They want to be close, but they also want to feel like their lives, choices, and homes are theirs. When those invisible lines aren't honored, they stop inviting us closer, not because they don't care, but because they no longer trust the space. It's not about shutting you out. It's about protecting their peace. Have you ever felt dismissed when your child asked for space? Maybe you thought, "I'm just being caring. They're too sensitive. I know better." But here's something to ask yourself. What would honoring their boundary, even when I don't agree with it, say about my love for them? Behavior number 4. Tone that feels like judgment. Sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it. A simple question like, "That's what you're feeding the kids," can sound caring or condescending, depending on the tone. Adult children are incredibly sensitive to subtle signals of disapproval. If your voice carries a hint of sarcasm, criticism, or disbelief, they may shut down or distance themselves, even if your words were well-intentioned. The truth is, many older parents don't even realize they've slipped into a judgmental tone. It's a habit that can come from years of parenting, where correcting or guiding was part of the role. But once your children are adults, they no longer want to feel parented. They want to feel respected. If you often feel like your kids don't want to talk or avoid real conversations, ask yourself, is my tone inviting or intimidating? Even one sentence said the wrong way can build invisible walls. Behavior number 5. Always needing to be right. It doesn't always sound like, "I told you so." Sometimes it sounds like, "Well, when I was your age," or "You'll understand when you're older." The need to be right, to prove a point, correct a detail, or show that you know better, might feel like helping. But to your adult children, it can feel like being talked down to. Even in small disagreements about how to raise kids, manage finances, or handle a life decision, constantly needing the final word can wear down the relationship. Why? Because being right often costs us something more valuable: connection. Many adult children will simply stop sharing their real struggles or questions if they know the conversation will turn into a debate or a lesson. They may start choosing silence over being corrected, distance over defensiveness, and, ironically, the more we try to assert our wisdom, the less likely they are to seek it. Let's be honest. Have you ever caught yourself proving a point long after it mattered? Not because it was helpful, but because it felt good to win. Here's a gentle truth. You don't need to win every argument to keep your dignity. Sometimes letting go of being right is the most powerful way to be heard and remembered. What's one moment you could have chosen connection over correction? Behavior number 6. Treating them like they're still kids. It's one of the hardest habits to see in ourselves, because it usually comes from love. We changed their diapers, packed their school lunches, stayed up worrying when they were out late. So, of course, part of us will always see our children as our children. But the problem starts when that instinct spills over into how we treat them now, giving constant, unsolicited advice, correcting their parenting or career decisions, double-checking their choices as if they can't manage on their own, or even reminding them of mistakes they made long ago. These moments might feel like guidance from your end, but from theirs? It can feel like a loss of respect, or like you've never seen who they've become. Adult children often pull away not out of rebellion, but out of a deep desire to be seen as equals, because no matter how much love is behind your actions, if they feel like they're being parented instead of respected, the connection phrase. Here's something to ask yourself honestly. Do I allow my adult children to show me who they are now, or am I still relating to the version of them I remember? Respecting their independence doesn't mean cutting the cord. It means strengthening it by building a new kind of bond, rooted in mutual respect. Because sometimes, the best way to love your child is to step back and watch them stand tall. The truth is, most of these subtle behaviors don't come from a lack of love. They come from too much love, unfiltered, unexamined, and sometimes uninvited. But when love turns into control, even in the smallest ways, it pushes away the very people we want to hold close. The good news? It's never too late to change the dance. Even one small shift, one pause, one respectful question instead of advice can begin to soften years of tension. Pick one of the 6 habits we explored, just one, and for the next 7 days become consciously aware of it. Ask yourself each evening, did I lean into this habit today or away from it? What could I try differently tomorrow? Change doesn't require a dramatic speech. Often it begins in quiet moments, a softer tone, a listening ear, a deeper breath before reacting. If this video opened your eyes or your heart, drop a heart in the comments. And if there's a moment or habit you recognized in yourself, you're not alone. Let's talk about it. Let's grow together. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got more real, respectful, and uplifting conversations coming soon, just for you.